Week 15 is complete. So as you can see already, the New England Patriots and the 49ers have clinched a playoff spot. But we'll go ahead and break down the week. So week 15 right here, we see the 49ers defeating the Detroit Lions 28-10. Drew Brees having a solid game, 180 yards, 1 touchdown, but it was Foster with 162 yards and 3 touchdowns in the absolute destruction of the Lions. So 18-point difference is the result. This clinches the 49ers a playoff spot in the NFC West. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the Green Bay Packers. So Baltimore surprisingly takes down Green Bay. We see Kaepernick with a not great performance. I mean, I don't think either of these teams really played well. This is the first game that the Packers no longer have LeSean McCoy. He is injured and he is out for the rest of the year. So James Starks and then rookie Ronnie Hillman have been taking the load at running back. You can see Starks with 82 and Hillman at 20. Decent running back duo there, but just not enough to get past the Ravens. Now, this is the Peyton Manning taking on his former team, the Colts. And unfortunately, it was the Colts who get the final laugh as Brady Quinn defeats Peyton Manning 24-21. You can see Chris Johnson with 112 yards, Quinn only with 125. That's all he needed to do in order to get the victory. And then you have 3 touchdown passes by Manning, 266 yards. Good game by Manning, except just not enough. Then you've got the Oakland Raiders coming up with a defeat against the Washington Commanders, which is a huge strike to the Commanders' chances of making the playoffs. I mean, they are right now still in the hunt, but they needed this win to kind of more solidify their playoff berth. But right here, under 100 yards for Michael Vick, and that's Marcus Vick, because Michael got injured for a few plays, but then he came back in. Goodson, who only got 49 yards, not good enough. We see Matt Ryan with 2 touchdowns. We see 3 total rushing touchdowns from 3 different running backs in Oakland. So Sean Green, Shane Vereen, and Bernard Pierce, the rookie, all getting a turn, getting a touchdown. Then we've got a surprising defeat here. The Titans squeak by the Patriots. So the Patriots were 11-2, trying to continue to solidify their number 1 seed. They still clinched the playoff berth because the Jets and the Dolphins and Bills just have been not having the same success as the Patriots. But here we see Freeman squeaking away with 240 yards and 2 interceptions. Jonathan Stewart, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Brady had slightly over 200 yards with Tony Hunt and Stephen Ridley as their main running backs. Meanwhile, Tennessee just, I guess, plays them out of a lower draft pick. Then this was a crazy game. I think this was the one I shared, so if you haven't watched the game, I suggest you do. Russell Wilson put up 475 yards in the overtime game against the Panthers. Flacco also playing well, 336 yards, 1 touchdown, the 1 turnover. We see Lorenzo Booker and Tate combining for about 82 yards, or 83 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Peterson only getting 13. And Wilson only getting 13. So clearly it was not a running game for this matchup. We see Kendall Wright, the rookie, with 177 yards. He's also the one that in overtime got the kind of like Hail Mary pass, basically, that won the game for the Cowboys to avoid going into any sort of tie. So that was an exciting game. Then we have the Chiefs falling to the Giants, and the Chiefs are one of the worst teams in the league. I think they're the 2nd draft pick. They'd be the 2nd overall pick, which they don't have because they traded their pick to the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons will have the 2nd overall pick if everything stays the same. And then you have Palmer with 168 yards. I thought the Giants were going to lose this game. Palmer kept throwing interceptions there. But Ryan Matthews really keeps him in the game with 166 yards. It's 96 for Trent Richardson. So, let's see, where am I at? And so then the Buffalo Bills defeat the Jaguars. Colt McCoy having a decent season, closing out the Jaguars, but decent season on the worst team isn't really decent. We see Ponder with 3 touchdowns, 167 yards. Karim and Williams get over 100 together. Murray only with 43. This is rookie Owusu. He's been getting more playing time since the season's pretty much over. It is over. And then the San Diego Chargers squeaked by the Eagles. So this was 2, 9, and 4 teams, and separated by a field goal. We see McNabb having a really terrible performance, whereas on the running game, they had over 200 yards rushing between Frank Gore and newly acquired free agent Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson used to be with the San Diego Chargers, so he got some payback with 74 yards and a touchdown. He just didn't get payback with the win. We see Beanie Wells and Marion Barber combining for a little over 100 together, 2 touchdowns, one for Barber. And then Rodgers, no touchdowns, no interceptions, just decent game manager to get the victory. And then another shocker. So this is why the AFC North is so deadly, is because any team can beat each other at any moment. So here the Steelers are trying to close in on the Browns, and they just can't. They lose to Brody Croyle with 3 touchdowns thrown by him, only 132 yards. No Sean Marino, back from injury, getting 111 yards. Meanwhile, we see the Steelers just 199 yards from Roethlisberger, TD interception, and then MJD only 46 yards, but that touchdown. So Bengals make up some ground, and I guess they're only 1 game behind the Steelers, so that's an interesting turn around there for the Bengals and really stunting the Steelers' opportunity for the playoffs. Then you have the Denver Broncos, who are right now, I believe they're in the playoff picture now. They are 8-6 because they came away with a tight victory against the Texans. Bradford with 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Brad Shaw. I just realized that we have a lot of Brads on this team. Like, we have Bradford and Brad Shaw. Anyway, the Brads overcome. We see Jackson with 188 yards, 2 TDs. Spiller with 42 yards and a touchdown. Texans, Tavares Jackson in my league has always been able to make the playoffs. He just doesn't do well when he gets there. Every team he's been with, Seattle, Cincinnati, he's had good seasons. He's done well, but he just hasn't ever really been a contender. Then we have the Saints defeating the Buccaneers. So this is a big game for New Orleans. Tampa Bay is trying to solidify their first number 1 seed, and now the Eagles and the 49ers are closing in. Actually, the 49ers, I think, are now the number 1 seed. So this is a tough loss for the Buccaneers. We see McFadden with 99 yards. Best, the backup running back, with 2 TDs. Gabbert almost 274 yards, 2 TDs. Tebow having a solid performance there. Isaiah Peed getting some carries. However, he's getting less because of Tomlinson and Mendenhall. But Saints aren't really a serious option. Then we have the Seahawks finally getting a decent win here. They have all the weapons to do it, but they finally get a win over Andrew Luck's Rams, which if they would have won, the Rams, they might have been still in the playoff race. Those 4 Luck interceptions were not helpful. Tim Hightower with 97 yards. So basically, Eli Manning got injured during the game, so Flynn got some playing time. But a very underwhelming season for the Seahawks, but they do get that victory over the Rams, possibly knocking them out of the playoffs or making their road to the playoffs a lot more difficult. So here we are with the very tight game here. The Vikings fall by 1 point. So this is another team that's trying to stay in playoff contention, and this loss is not good for them. Dalton with 204 yards. We see the running game pretty mediocre, but really mediocre stats on both sides. So, neither team played that well. So I guess the Cardinals played the least worst. Then the Miami Dolphins come away with a victory over the Jets. They both have the same record, 7-6. But it was the Dolphins with Newton's 278 yards and 3 TDs. We see Calvin Johnson Jr. with 112 yards and 2 TDs, really dominating this game. We see Joe McKnight, who's been starting for the absent Matt Forte, and he gets 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then even 33 yards receiving, so solid performance for him. And then you have Clinton Portis only getting 6 attempts and only 7 yards and a TD. Alex Smith with 236 yards and a touchdown. Just not good enough on prime time on that Sunday Night Football. So the Dolphins are able to take that edge to likely make the playoffs again. So we'll see how these last 3 weeks go. And then Cleveland squeaks by the Chicago Bears. Pryor with 293 yards, 3 TDs. We see 273 yards and 1 TD for Campbell. Glenn Coffey getting more carries, and 2 TDs over Mark Ingram. But really, it was Courtney Roby, the free agent acquisition for the Browns, that had a big performance. He was acquired like a week or two ago to give them that extra boost on that deep threat for this Browns passing game, because Anthony Gonzalez, what's the other guy, Brian Robisky, just not as solid of a receiving core, but we see him making a big impact in this game with 158 yards. So if we look at these standings real quick, we'll see that the Patriots have clinched the AFC East, and it's very unlikely that the Miami Dolphins are going to win 3 straight games, and Patriots will lose 3 straight games to have any sort of challenge there. Patriots probably have this locked up, and they're a game ahead of the Chargers for the number 1 seed. The Jets are still in the hunt. We have the Buffalo Bills out. Pittsburgh's still in the hunt. Cleveland looks like they haven't won the division yet, because the Steelers still could come up and surpass them, but it's very unlikely. We see the Colts and the Texans, who will be playing each other this week. Texans have a chance to tie the Colts for the best record in the division. Of course, the Titans and Jaguars just fighting for which draft spot they're going to have. Denver has surprised me this year. I mean, Bradford's been awful in his career, so this is the first time he's actually shown any chance of being possible starting quarterback that could go into the playoffs. Oakland, very disappointing. I'm debating whether Hugh Jackson's on the chopping block. And then the Chiefs, 4-10, second worst record in the league, behind Jacksonville. Then we have the Eagles, and then the 2 Washington Commanders and Giants trying to contend for that playoff spot. There's a lot of 7-7 teams, so there's a lot of competition for it. But we see Dallas actually now technically in contention. I mean, they're kind of an outside option, but they're on a 4-game win streak, and if they keep winning, they could go 9-8. I don't know if 9-8 is going to be good enough, though. I think with 2, 3, 4, 5, 7-7 teams, I'm doubtful that all of them are going to be only winning 2 games or less this coming last 3 weeks. And then the Lions are out, of course. And the Buccaneers are 10-4, so they have a pretty good control of their division. Yes, the Falcons or Panthers could go 3 straight wins, and Buccaneers, 3 straight losses, and I think the division may still be up for grabs. However, if you look at the division's standings, I think there's not much you can do to overcome that at this point, because they're too. Yeah, you can't. Okay, the Buccaneers are going to be the division leader no matter what. And then you have the 49ers, who have clinched their playoff spot. Rams and Cardinals and Seahawks trying to make any sort of move, but I'm doubtful any of them will make it, especially since the Rams lost this week. You can see Jacksonville, the Chiefs, Seattle, Detroit, Oakland, Baltimore, kind of the bottom teams here in the league. As for rankings, we see Patriots and Bucks at the very top. Eagles may pass the Bucks soon enough. I mean, 49ers, actually, I'm surprised they're only 5th, because I see the 49ers as more competitive than the Buccaneers. But we see number 1 offense is the Dolphins, and number 1 defense is San Francisco, and then Jacksonville and the Jets. Quick stat overview, we have Manning at the top, along with Brady, Newton, Big Ben, and McNabb. Touchdown leaders, as you can see right there. Rushing, we have McFadden, who's almost closing in on 2,000 yards. I mean, he's got 3 more weeks to do it. Ryan Matthews, almost 400 yards behind him, maybe 300 something. Clinton Portis, Chris Johnson, and Peterson now up there for the top. And we have 17 running backs over 1,000 yards, and we have several others who are probably closing in soon enough. Then you have Chris Johnson, who's been the number 1 leader in rushing touchdowns. And then right behind him is Peterson, Matthews, and McCoy with 15. Greg Jennings and Calvin Johnson Jr. have been the top of the league, with Ted Ginn being the consistent third. A.J. Green in Denver has really had a solid receiving season under Bradford. Emmanuel Sanders, Julio, even rookie Josh Gordon. Touchdowns, we see Calvin Johnson just leads the way, and then Gordon, and then surprisingly, old man Steve Smith with the Chargers getting a lot of touchdowns. He's not getting as much. I mean, he's getting yards. I mean, he's over 1,000 yards. And then we have tackles. I mean, again, rookie Michael Kendricks doing great. Sacks, we still have Geno Atkins now at top over Ray Edwards, Morgan, Quinn, Sandy TDs from these people. DeMarcus Ware has a TD. Okay. And then we have interceptions. Justin Miller onto a roll. How many touchdowns do we have? Oh, we have a good number of them. So if you want to look through some of the defensive players who have a probably pick 6 They're all right here. So there you have it. So coming up this week, we have the Jets versus the Patriots on Monday night. So that's going to be a good game to play. I mean, this is the Jets' hope of trying to get into the playoffs, and this is the Patriots having an opportunity to shut them out completely. We see the playoff picture right now. Pretty tight. I mean, right now the Browns, the 3rd seed, that's been a surprise this season. We have Broncos who have been a surprise this season, now with the 5th seed. Houston being more competitive than I thought they would be with Tavares Jackson. I think replacing Locker for Jackson, or replacing Locker with Jackson, I think really elevated the Texans to being more competitive. So it looks like Locker's career is kind of done. I mean, he had a shot, and then we went with the better quarterback. And then Newton is trying to get back to the Super Bowl, and so they were the 7th seed last time. We'll see if they're the 7th seed this time again, because again, I've had 7 seeds get to the Super Bowl before. And then the NFC, I mean, any surprises? I think maybe Chicago's a little bit of a surprise. I didn't think Campbell was going to do the same thing he did with the Bears as he did with Atlanta, because right now the Falcons are the 6th seed with Manning, and the Bears are doing better than them with Campbell. And then Commanders being 7th seed. I mean, I will see how long that lasts. I think they're a good team, but if we look at who's on the outside looking in, the Vikings and Giants, I don't know. I mean, Giants may have a chance to surpass the Commanders. I think the Panthers are also up there too. And then we have Pittsburgh and the Jets trying to get past the Dolphins. But anyway, I hope you enjoy these videos. This is definitely a fun way to play Madden, so please like and subscribe to this channel for more content. I will be showing highlights of each game when we get to the playoffs, so I might be doing a game here and there up to that point, but we'll show more, and we'll do the full Super Bowl, of course, as we always do. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.